Welcome to the channel, RedHeadTakes. Welcome back again. I've never talked about my love of music on this channel. I love everything out there. Basically, anything that's out there that was before the year 2005 is good. No, there's still some good stuff in the modern, like 2005 onward, but it's so few and far between. It's just, most of it is just trash. They just throw out there. You could throw anybody behind the microphone and make it good. Like, seriously, like the modern Taylor Swift stuff kind of sucks. The old stuff isn't bad. It's not something I would choose to listen to openly, but it's a lot better than what it is today. A lot of artists have just debased themselves with their lefty BS and stuff like that, and their music has suffered as a result of it. There's still good music out there, but today we're going to talk about Metallica, which happens to be one of my favorite bands. Now I know a lot of people out there just say, yeah, they're just a bunch of old guys now. They're just a bunch of boomers out there that can't sing anymore, they can't play anymore. And yes, to a large part, I kind of agree. Like, I mean, some of their most recent albums just aren't that great, to be honest. But we're gonna go through all their mainline albums. We're not gonna talk about Lulu, because I think we all know going into it, looking at the album artwork of Lulu, knowing that this is just going to suck, and it is. It is just an offense to music. I mean, it's really bad. It's really bad, and it's a bad way for Lou Reed to go out, because he's just one of those underrated musicians of all time. But we're just gonna keep that in the corner. We're gonna go over the mainline album from Kill 'Em All to 72 Seasons. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, comment, all that. And supposedly YouTube says it helps me in the algorithm, but you be the judge of that, and let me know what you think, and what you think, what other artists I should do, rank and tier lists in the future, because there's a lot of bands out there that I like to do this for. Not gonna go full musical retrospective like Razorfist, because his videos are so awesome. I don't think I could ever move in his direction with that. But if you think I should try, I will certainly consider it someday. But let me know what you think down in the comments below, and let's get into it with the tiers. All time greats, of course, great. Then just the great ones that are just maybe one or two songs have some filler in it, and that just keep it from being truly great. Some good, some bad. These are the albums that are just, one side's good, and then the rest are just crap. Kind of sucks. It's just like maybe only one or two on here that put in this category, and then I think you know which couple on here belong and throw in the trash. But I'm not going to mention those until we get to them. So let's start with the one that started it all, Kill 'Em All. Now, I still love Kill 'Em All, and I love its rudimentary sound work. I love the driving. I love everything about it. A lot of people out there, or some people out there, might think we should just remaster it completely. Just reuse it and completely remaster it. Take out all the graininess. It's like, it would lose a lot of that. It would lose a lot of the garage vibe of the whole album. I love this album. It's still great. Notables, cool. The Anesthesia song, the Four Horsemen, which is great. The Four Horsemen from Metallica is better than the Mechanics, which is Dave Mustaine's version of the song. Supposedly Metallica copied it. It's like, no, they did it better than you, a-hole. Metallica's version, Four Horsemen, is better than the Mechanics. Of course, you got Hit the Lights, Seek and Destroy, and it's just a full album of great hits, some better than others, but I think there's maybe one or two tracks that hold it back from being truly great. But next we'll go into the next one, Ride the Lightning, which is an all-time great. All-time great. I love this album. I used to listen to it all the time. I still do. I have Ride the Lightning, of course, the title track, Fight Fire with Fire, Trapped Under Ice, I think, is a really underrated hit. Creeping Death is one of my favorites as well. Also, the very underrated Call of Cthulhu. I know they spell Cthulhu, and the reason they spell it with a K is because you never mention the name of the beast. And this album is fantastic. I love it. It's improved production value from the first album, and one of my all-time favorites in the heavy metal genre for sure. But next we come up with its follow-up. which is even better. I mean, Master of Puppets is, like everybody says, fantastic. Of course, you have the title track, Master of Puppets. Then you have deep cuts like Orion, which isn't played a lot in live concert because of the sad death of Cliff Burton, which you know is very tragic. And his bass solo in the song is fantastic. I love Cliff Burton as the bassist for Metallica. He's definitely the best one they've had. Basically, every other one since has been a downgrade from Cliff Burton. He was great. And of course, you got so many hits on there. Leper Messiah. You have Damage Incorporated. Disposable Heroes is a fantastic song. Basically, the drum work imitates a machine gun in World War One. Absolutely fantastic. It's a great album. Probably one of the best heavy metal albums of all time. Maybe not at the top, but it's certainly close. And it's an even better follow up to the majesty that was Ride the Lightning. Absolutely fantastic. Next we have And Justice for All, which I think belongs in the great tier as well. There's just a couple songs on here that I'm not the biggest fan of. In the Eye of the Beholder isn't the greatest song in the world. To Live is to Die has its moments, but really isn't my favorite either. Of course, you got the 10 Town track or song that comes out of this one. It's absolutely fantastic anti-war song. The music video behind is incredible. And of course, And Justice for All, the title track is fantastic. Blacken is great. You have a couple other really good ones in there as well. Not as good as Master of Puppets. Certainly downgrade in the term of Metallica, but you can hear the anger, you can hear the rage in the song. You could really feel it, especially in the song One, following the death of Clifford, and it really comes out strong. And definitely one of my favorite albums out there. It's just not as good as Master of Puppets or even Ride the Lightning, but still belongs in the great tier for sure. One I listen to often. Then we start to get into the more questionable albums, some of the more questionable albums. The Black Album is certainly a good album overall. Of course, you have Unforgiven, you have Enter Sandman, then you have Of Wolf and Man, which I think is a really underrated cut on the song. But, I mean, you have some others like Holier Than Thou. It's not my favorite. I used to like it more. The God That Failed has its moments. Through the Never isn't bad as well. But it's just not as great of an album. Again, if you remember the show Classic Albums, it goes through a lot of heavy metal bands, a lot of bands in general's best albums. Now, like a lot of the bands on there, their best album is usually not the best one that they cover. I mean, they cover this one because it was a huge hit. Huge. It like really brought them into the spotlight. This is where the album where they kind of sold out from their traditional heavy metal roots. Still heavy metal, but it's just more poppy metal than it is with the heavier stuff of Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning or even And Justice for All. I mean, there's still good songs on here, but just overall, it's a mixed bag for me. Still some good songs in there, but the overall composition of the whole album is just lacking compared to Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning, or even the two in the great tier. It's just my opinion. It's just what I think. And if you don't like it, well, you can walk off a bridge. But next we have Load. And yes, I know a lot of people hate this album. I enjoy this album. I enjoy certain songs on here. Like King Nothing is good. Outlaw Torn, I think, is an underrated deep cut. Bleeding Me is a good song as well, I think. But then there's songs like Waste My Hate on You. I just don't think that game is very good. Slither's not on this one. It's on Reload. But overall, it's a good album. But it's mainly front loaded with a few deep cuts mixed in there. But overall, again, like the Black Album, it's just kind of lacking from the greatness that was some of the previous albums. But there are still some deep cuts in here for sure that I really like. Like I said, Outlaw Torn is really good, and Bleeding Me. But overall, just kind of good. Just overall mixed bag again. Next we have Reload, and yes, this album kind of sucks. It really does. This album really sucks. I mean, you have Feel, which depending on the day, I say is a good song. Other days I say it's a bad song. But then you have Unforgiven 2, which I think is probably the best song of the album, or The Memory Remains is good. But then you got crap like Fixer and Slither, Prince Charming. God, the back half of this album just certifiably sucks. And ugh, there's like 2 or 3 songs on here that on any given day I might want to listen to, but most days are not. It's albums ultimately skip for me. It's not fully trash, but mostly it is. It's mostly trash, and frankly, this is where, well, this is right after the album, right where Metallica had a lot of their personal issues. A lot of the drugs problem really started to show up here after this, and there's a great documentary, Some Kind of Monster, about the making of Saint Anger, which is the next album I'll be talking about. Should totally go watch that. It shows how far the band has fallen at this point, but I mean, this was the first step before it really started to go down track for a little bit, for like a decade or so, when we weren't getting a lot of albums from Metallica and just getting a lot of BS behind the stage, changing bases again. Jason Newsted leaves, and just kind of left rudderless for a while. And we got the sin that is Saint Anger, and yes, this album is trash. Don't believe certain people out there that say, oh, it's just unnecessary malign when it came out. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's like, yes, it is. It is horrible. There's not a single soul on this album. It's basically just Lars with the drug problem, just banging on heavy percussion. It just sounds like banging garbage cans together the whole time. It's terrible. Saint that the solos or the title track might be the only song that I could stomach for more than 1 or 2 listens, but the rest of the album is just, ugh, God, just forget this musical abortion ever happened and move on your way. When I say the album Saint Anger, just throw it away in the trash. Just terrible, awful. Next, we have a nice rejoinder, a nice comeback, if you will. 2008's Death Magnet, which I frankly think is a great album. I think it's great. I think it's a really good album. There's lots of really good songs on here. All Nightmare Long is fantastic. Unforgiven 3 has its moments. The Suicide and Redemption is probably my favorite song on the album. I mean, it's a deep cut. It's a total instrumental, but it just really has its groovy ups and downs. It's heavier. It's darker. The soul really comes through in this one. I think most of this album is pretty darn good. I mean, there may be a few things here and there that aren't great. The first couple songs on the album aren't the best, or kind of forgettable. Broken, Beaten, Scarred, I can take or leave depending on the day, but overall I think it's a strong album after the shit that was Saint Anger. I mean, it was a real return to form. And then we have a break for another long while before we get, I think it was 2015's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Not 2015, 2017, I believe. It was a long time. It was a long time in between Death Magnetic and this album, which I think is, we'll put it here. No, we'll put it above Blackened. I think it's better than the Black Album. Still good. Still has that drive. The souls are still there, like Death Magnetic. It still has its songs, notable songs. Moth in the Flame, I think, is really good. The Hardwired to Self-Destruct is a good song. Nice, fast speed metal kind of song. And then I think the underrated track on this album is Halo on Fire. I think the music video that goes behind the song is kind of weird. I mean, because it leads you on to think a certain thing, and then it's like someone getting beaten the whole time, and then the second half, the second chord is just just changes. The tonal shift of the song just completely changes. It gets more victorious, more vibrant. It's just a good album. It's not as good as Death Magnetic. There are some good songs here. There are some bad songs. I mean, a lot of this album just is kind of forgettable overall, except a few I kind of mentioned, but still some good. It's definitely some bad. And it's a good album overall for the most part, but definitely not as good as some of them in their past. So not nowhere near as bad as Saint Anger, but it has its place. And then 72 Seasons. It's not a trash album. Every time I tried to listen to it, I just can't get into it very far. There are some decent songs on here. It's just kind of forgettable. Franco's just forgettable. I don't want to. There are some good. I just can't name them. They're just kind of forgettable. I mean, when I listen to the album, there's certainly some songs in there. 72 Seasons is okay, but overall, it's just not a great album, to be honest. It's better than Reload because there may be one or two songs on Reload that I think might be listened to on a daily basis, but it's just kind of forgettable. It's not throwing the trash worthy because, I mean, nothing is as bad as Saint Anger, but God, it's not great. After Hardwired to Self-Destruct, when this album came out, it's like, whoa, when's the next album going to come out? And then, I mean, to a lot of people, there are a lot of Metallica fans out there. I mean, you're going to have some people that hate it, some people that love it. I just think a lot of Metallica faithful out there, when they heard 72 Seasons, is just meh, meh. It's just kind of in that below average to trash category. It's not fully trash, but man, it's just very forgettable. And that's the list of the main Metallica albums. Let me know what you think down below. Again, comment what other bands you like to see me tier list, because I have a lot of favorite bands out there. I have a lot of albums to go through, and I'd love to talk about a lot more bands in the future. I'd like to just keep expanding the channel to just go into all sorts of different areas that I love to talk about. I haven't talked about music a lot before, but I'll put a poll out there after this video comes out, and you can tell me what your favorite album is in the Metallica catalog, because I know they get maligned nowadays, but they've had good stuff in the past. They really have. I mean, to fully discredit them fully is just wrong. But it's just, they're a very interesting band. They've had their ups, they've had their downs. They're still one of the best heavy metal bands of all times, and you really can't take it away from them, regardless of what anybody says. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.